it's been revealed that thousands of Afghans are being relocated to the United Kingdom as part of an £850 million asylum scheme.
Yeah, so this is just breaking. It was set up after a leak of personal data of those who supported British forces in Afghanistan. Now, we are just waiting here for a statement in the House of Commons on this very issue from John Healey, the Defence Minister.
It's important to note that this was covered by a super injunction up until now. We haven't been allowed to report this specific issue. But what happened was a British Marine sent an email years ago that included, by accident, a spreadsheet. And that spreadsheet included the names of around 25,000 Afghans who had applied for asylum in the United Kingdom, but were yet to be granted it. Now, with this data leak, obviously these people have a case to the British government that they would be under threat of reprisal from the Taliban, from the Afghan government, as these names became public, those people that had applied for asylum. The British government faced a quandary in responding to that, and they've decided the best thing to do is to offer asylum to every single person on that list.
So apparently it could be nearly 24,000 Afghans. Projection that this could cost the British taxpayer up to £6 billion at a time where Rachel Reeves is due to set out how she's going to improve the economy a little later. Might risk making that financial black hole a little larger. But anyway, yes, 24,000 up to resettled in this country because of this mistake that was made.
I mean, it does seem like a pretty terrible mistake that was made. And you do have to feel for the people that were on this list who live in a country that is governed by a despotic Islamist regime. Clearly, these people became under threat by thanks to an error that a British service personnel put in an email.
But can asylum to this country constantly be the tool that we use? I'm sorry, but who's going to actually deal with this? It's going to be local communities. It's going to be local councils. It's going to be the British taxpayer who've done nothing wrong, at all, who are going to have to cough up for this.
Speaker, I wish to make a statement on a significant data protection breach from February 2022 relating to the Afghan relocations and assistance policy. This led to the High Court granting an unprecedented super injunction and the previous government establishing a secret Afghan resettlement route. Today, I'm announcing to the House a change in government policy. I'm closing this resettlement route, I'm disclosing the data loss, and I'm confirming that the court order was lifted at 12 noon today. Members of this House, including you, Mr. Speaker, and myself, have been subject to this super injunction. It is unprecedented. And to be clear, the court has always recognised the parliamentary privilege of proceedings in this House, and ministers decided not to tell parliamentarians at an earlier stage about the data incident, as the widespread publicity would increase the risk of the Taliban obtaining the data set. But as parliamentarians and as government ministers, it has been deeply uncomfortable to be constrained from reporting to this House. And I'm grateful today to be able to disclose the details to Parliament. And I trust you, Mr. Speaker, and members will bear with me if I take the time to ensure the House now has the fullest information possible, something I discussed with you, Mr. Speaker, yesterday. Mr. Speaker, the facts are as follows. In February 2022, 10 months after the then Defence Secretary Ben Wallace introduced the Afghan relocations and assistance policy, 6 months after the fall of Kabul, a defence official emailed an Arab caseworking file outside of authorised government systems. ARAP, as the House knows, is the resettlement scheme that this country established for Afghan citizens who worked for or with our UK armed forces over the combat years of Afghanistan. And both in opposition and in government, we have backed this scheme, I know ARAP also has had the full support from across this House. Now, this official mistakenly believed that they were sending the names of 150 applicants. However, the spreadsheet in fact contained personal information associated to 18,714 Afghans who had applied either to the ex gratia or the ARAP scheme on or before the 7th of January 2022. It contained names and contact details of applicants and, in some instances, information relating to applicants' family members. And in a small number of cases, Mr. Speaker, the names of members of Parliament, senior military officers and government officials were noted as supporting the application. This was a serious departmental error. It was in clear breach of strict data protection protocols, and it was one of many data losses relating to the ARAP scheme during this period.
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. This video's sponsor is Private Internet Access. They are the VPN to help keep you safe. Click the link in the description below to find out why over 30 million people have downloaded PIA to protect themselves online. A virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and helps keep your data private. When you're browsing the internet at home, you give up a large amount of data to businesses, to shops, and indeed to social media giants too. Hackers have the ability to steal your personal data with ease, including sensitive information such as passwords, keystrokes, and even your personal photos. Private Internet Access helps protect your personal data by encrypting your internet connection to keep your data out of the hands of cyber criminals. And it's not just hackers either to be concerned about. Information can be censored too. When Canada passed their C-18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news and content you love. Private Internet Access is available for Windows users, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one PIA subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices. And we've got a huge GBNews discount for you too. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get a massive 83% off PIA. That's under £2 a month, the price of a coffee, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free on top. Also, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee too. Visit piavpn.com/GBnews to start protecting yourself digitally today.
Mark White, our Home and Security Editor, is with us now. He's been listening to the statement there. Mark, so what do we know? There is a little bit of confusion over the numbers. How many Afghans have been relocated so far to the United Kingdom as a direct result of this breach?
Well, officially, the Ministry of Defence is saying that 4,500 Afghans have been relocated to the UK under this scheme, with about another 500 or so who are still to be relocated at a cost so far of some 400 million, with an additional cost of about 400 to 450 million. But you're right, there is confusion. And I think that needs to be clarified by the Ministry of Defence as a matter of urgency, because there are these figures suggesting that tens of thousands, perhaps 18,000 or so, may already have been relocated to the UK. Now, that might be explained, and I'm only guessing because of the lack of detail, it's difficult to do any more than this. It might be that they are suggesting that 4,500 people who are the sort of main participants of the scheme, i.e. the individuals who may have worked for the UK government at that given time, have been brought across, but it might also be that their family members account for the extra thousands who come across. As I say, I'm only guessing, I don't really know. It's clearly been a very difficult position that the British government has found itself in through the careless actions of an official in emailing out that information with the spreadsheet of those 19,000 individuals who'd worked for the UK military and UK interests across in Afghanistan during that period from 2001 to 2021, when the UK government, of course, then pulled out its troops from Afghanistan after the Taliban retook control of that country. The government will argue that it had to have this super injunction, that it had to have a period in which the strictest confidentiality was abided by in order to get those individuals whose lives they deemed at risk at that time out of Afghanistan. That super injunction, of course, could not hold, according to the High Court judge who had ruled that that injunction should now be lifted, given the passage of time. And we are where we are. The government clearly very embarrassed by this, a situation that they find themselves in, a lot of money that has been spent, and thousands of people who have had to be relocated to the UK as a result.
I mean, this does raise a huge number of questions, not just on the secrecy of government, on what the people are told, what their taxes are being spent on, and what even Parliament is able to know about the operations of government, but also about the professionalism of our armed forces, which we often describe as the best in the world, but clearly in this particular case committed a catastrophic error.
Well, that's true, but, you know, errors do occur from time to time. Everybody's human, as the saying goes. It was a catastrophic error. It has had very wide-reaching ramifications. In terms of the secrecy, well, you know, I can have some sympathy with the Ministry of Defence and the British government feeling that there had to be this secrecy around the relocation of these individuals who were deemed as clearly very high-risk individuals in terms of what they thought the risk from the new Taliban regime in Afghanistan might be towards them if they found out. Clearly, they have now recalculated and decided that they believe the Afghan government now has all of the information contained on that spreadsheet anyway, and the recalculation suggests that those individuals still remaining on that spreadsheet are less likely to be the victim of reprisals from this regime. To say there's an awful lot to come. This story is just clearly broken today with that statement from John Healey. A lot of questions, as you heard, being asked by the opposition there in terms of the detail that, of course, we all need to know. It's an enormous amount of money. There was some suggestion that it might have been as much as £7 billion that would have to be spent on this relocation scheme. Now, the government is pushing back against that and suggesting that actually it may be closer to £1 billion by the time that that relocation process is complete. But that's the kind of detail that we do need answered now as a matter of urgency. Now, effectively, that the cat is out of the bag, that we know about what has been going on here, and this now once secret operation, which is no longer secret.
Mark, I mean, Afghanistan, incredibly dangerous country, very different cultural norms to this one. How will the government have been going about vetting, making sure that people aren't exploiting this route, making sure that there aren't risks to the security of British people?
Well, in terms of vetting, of course, the government had the names in the first place. The government knew many people who would have worked for them, but these people were then applying for relocation under that scheme. It would have been, of course, a matter of checking those individuals against the potential branch of the military or government that those people, they may be interpreters or other individuals involved in working for the UK government at that time, as to whether those individuals are who they say they are. It's not necessarily a straightforward process when you're dealing with people in a third country, given that we don't have a presence now in that country, having left when the Taliban took over. So yes, it can be difficult and might only be thoroughly done when an individual has actually left that country and arrived in the UK. I mean, we know that quite independently from this emergency and secret, as it was, relocation scheme, there was the relocation of individuals in the months and weeks before the Taliban overthrew the government in Afghanistan and took over in Kabul. And also, of course, you have the situation of the small boats coming across the English Channel. There are many people in the years since the Taliban took over control of Afghanistan who have fled that country and who have come across the English Channel, quite a number of them claiming that they had worked for the UK military and the UK government in Afghanistan at that time.
Well, quite thanks indeed for your immediate reaction to this breaking news story.